In today's video, I open doors, make a small dot with a resin, I designed new engine and gearbox, also I paint camouflage scheme with a brush, I create a few ammunition shells, and lastly I apply minor weathering. Hello fellow modelers, you may not have come across this machine before. Allow me to introduce the impressive British gun carrier from WW1. The great news is that the lovely 3D model exists and is ready for printing. Mattorsilver created and you can find the files on Cal3D. I scaled the model down to 7 to the scale, because it is an enormous machine even at this small scale. I reflected on my past mistakes and opt for much thinner printing supports, making it significantly easier to detach the model. I recently purchased new LEGO Saturn IV machine with a larger printing volume. However, it took few test prints for me to figure out the best printing settings. As a result, I end up printing some parts multiple times to ensure I achieve the desired results. I use a strong 3M Scotch Weld superglue because typical cheap superglue tends to crack easily. After separating, I noticed that the supports had created small holes. I found that the most effective filler is printing resin, which I can easily apply with a brush, plus I can quickly cure it using UV flashlight. The following step involves using grinder along with a fine sandpaper to clean away any leftover resin. Resin dust can be harmful, so wear a good protective equipment. The real machine measures 10 meters in length, which is roughly equivalent to the size of a German mouse tank. Therefore, I personally prefer a 7 to scale. The model is fully crafted, fits perfectly and includes many components, which make the building process enjoyable. The model is designed for a 35 scale, which means that all the doors, visors and hatches are separate components. This feature allows me to make it more interesting. The resin printing isn't always completely accurate, so when you resize the original model, it is important to make slight adjustments to certain parts for optimal fit. This may involve smoothing edges on enlarging holes for connection pins. As you can see, the back section of the model lacks details. There should be a Daimler engine and gearbox housed in the large compartment at the rear. To address this, I opened a Blender 3D editor, searched for blueprints and designed new parts. All my designs are available on my Patreon or Cal3D. The same Daimler engine was located in the legendary male and female tanks. I have numerous ideas and plans in mind for utilizing it, so I will use it also for future models. It is a lovely detail. It will be hardly visible, but I'm glad that this section is not empty. At this stage, I am applying primer to unify the parts. This process will highlight any imperfections, while also helping to fill printing layers. I forgot to mention that the model also came with a delightful 6-powder howitzer. I came across historical photos of the machine and noticed several boxes along with the ammunition, stacked behind the driver's seat. So in my spare time I fired up my Blender and designed these components also, then print them out using my Prusa SL1S. I found historical photos featuring wooden frames for shells, which inspired me to create my own versions. The ammunition actually fits perfectly into the boxes. In the rear section there should be storage boxes for propelling charges. While the design follows the blueprints, I do not possess any documentation detailing their actual appearance. And with this detail I am done. It looks beautifully ugly. I would say this model resembles any orc battle wagon from Warhammer 40k, rather than any British vehicle. Alright, let's get started on bringing this monster to life with some paint. I prefer using airbrush for painting and shading because it creates beautifully smooth layer, making it easier when working with a paintbrush on the model. I use khaki green shade that matches the color used on Mark IV tanks. I also need to paint the engine, as it would be difficult to do so once the model assembled. You can achieve almost the same result as with an airbrush when using the correct dilution. This simple approach to achieve a wooden texture involves a base layer in the light wood shade. After that, I added texture by applying a dark brown oil paint. The oil paint has intense pigment and dries slowly. By editing a bit of thinner and using a right brush, you can create beautiful effects. So not only wood, but oil leaks and accumulated dirt and many more. I made in 3D many details, therefore I'm making them more pronounced with a grey shade. The sponge works wonderfully to achieve a quick scratching effect. However, since the result can be unpredictable, I occasionally need to adjust or remove them using some thinner. There is something truly amazing about creating a design in 3D and then watching it to come to life as a finished and painted model. The khaki green shade is quite dark, so I must use a lighter shade for highlights. I am spraying lighter shades both on raised and flat surfaces, while also brightening the vehicle's top sections. This approach mainly creates a less uniform appearance and emphasizes the shapes of the model. This vehicle features a classic white and red strips design. Applying uniform white layer with a brush can be quite challenging, so I decided to mask off the area and used airbrush instead. On the other hand, the red paint has much better coverage properties, allowing me to apply it smoothly with a brush. I enjoy printing models, but there is one drawback. You don't have a water slide decals like those in the standard plastic kit. Fortunately, I discovered some lovely decals from Black Lion Decals. They offer a wide range of products for World War I vehicles, primarily focusing on 72 scale. I need to meticulously cut out the numbers since the clear film covers the entire sheet. I didn't find the small interhatches in the kit, so I designed new ones in 3D. I have mentioned before that the shells are a lovely detail, but what really stands out is their yellow color decorated with red or green lines. There is a small amount of dirt and oil located beneath the engine area. Now I can close the box and cover all the work. The howitzer is included and has again lovely details. I found a few pictures of WW1 guns with camouflage, and I think it could be more interesting than only dark green shade. So I used the camouflage pattern inspired by British Mark IV female tank. Since masking would be challenging, I opt to paint the pattern using a paintbrush. The MK1 gun carrier was designed to transport 6-powder howitzer and serves as a support vehicle. However, its maximum speed was just 6 km per hour, making horses a more efficient option for moving artillery. The shells had red and green strips, but I had a hard time painting the thin lines, so I decided to stick just with red. Nevertheless, it still looks quite colorful. The model is painted, so the next step is more shading and weathering to make it more used. I mixed a dark brown shade from oil paint and odorless thinner, and I applied it to details, which made them more pronounced. It's already showing some dirt and shading, but it is just a starting point. I'm adding a variety of soft scratches using a light khaki green and rust tones. This machine was not very fast, but you can expect many dust on the surface even so. I like creating dust effect by enamel paints. They have a nice matte effect and you can easily blend them with an enamel thinner. It has a chemical composition different from acrylic paints, so you don't need to worry about previous paint job. I am making it accumulated more around the rivets and the bottom section. The sponge is ideal for quick scratches, but if you want more control over the process, it is best to use a paintbrush to paint them. The tracks were partially uncovered, which caused a significant amount of dust and mud to cling to the nearby surface. The 72 scale is quite small, allowing me to create accumulated dry mud and dust using just a dry pigment and fixer. The fixer acts as a binder, ensuring that the pigment becomes more durable after it dries. I would like to have a larger quantity of the mud. While the fixer is still wet, I pour more pigment directly into the mix. This technique is suitable for 72 scale. If you wish to achieve comparable result in 35 scale, you would need to combine the pigment with a plaster or pigment binder. Keep in mind that the pigment fixer is efficient only in thin layer. The body looks too pristine compared to the dusty tracks. Therefore I need to add several scratches to create a more realistic appearance. A good tool for this job is brush. This is even more intriguing. The upper section was utilized for transporting supplies, which explains the numerous scratches present there. Oil paints are great for imitation of accumulated dirt from exhaust. I can easily extend or reduce effect with a thinner. Now I am imitating rust on exhaust with a Vallejo acrylic paints. I use a dark and light rust with a combination of residual grey paint. The 6 powder howitzer is my favorite detail, but I'm not talking about the gun, but about the wheels attached on the sides. I am painting wheels with a gunmetal paint and many rust scratches with a brush and sponge. And more scratches everywhere. This is small scale, so I'm learning with every model to make this effect more fine. Therefore I smoothed almost every scratch with a toothpick to achieve more realistic results in scale. I'm applying deep shading to the shells to give them an illusion of depth. If I don't, then just appear as a one uniform yellow cargo. I look closely at the pictures and notice many chains. I found fine brass anchor chains for ship models in stash. The metal burnishing fluid from AK helps to make them black, because paint can easily clog small chain eyes. And with these details, I'm done. As this is my first model of 2025, I want to wish everyone happy new year, filled with peace and exciting new creations. Although I don't have any apartment restoration scheduled for this year, you can look forward to more content and 3D designs. If you think this model needs a diorama, then you are right. I'm already in the process of creating one. Plus, if you enjoyed the Great War models, I can assure you that there is more on the way, because it's truly lovely. And with this bombshell, let's look at the finished model. Thank you for watching, and special thanks to my Patreons for their support. See you next time!